Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Stephen Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Welcome everyone to the Spotlight here on Fightful. I'm Jeremy Lambert, that's Stephen Jensen, and shout out, as always, to Big Dick MLJ for the intro. It is Thursday, March 5th. Plenty of wrestling to talk about, and you see him down there. He is here every single month talking about some pro wrestling symphony. Our pal, our good friend, Connor Casey. Connor, how are you this evening?
I'm good, man. It's a show week, so I'm a little tired, but I'll get over that once the show starts.
Well, it is show week for you guys. It is undeniable Pro Wrestling Symphony this weekend. I'm trying to zoom in, and it's giving me all kind of fits here. What's a
Sunday?
Yes.
East Side Bowl in East Nashville.
Okay.
Bell time is 2 p.m.
All right, thank you. I saw the logo, the East Side Bowl. I was looking for it on the graphic. I was about to read out Gatlin Pike South, Nashville, yes. Tennessee.
The full address.
Yes.
If you need directions.
If you're in Nashville, it is 1508. It's actually Gallatin. Let me actually learn how to read here. Gallatin Pike South in Nashville, 37115. So there you go. Bell time, 2 p.m. Eastern, Sunday, March 8th. But yes, the East Side Bowl, IWTV.
And the funny thing is, I've learned the hard way that you do need to include every bit of that information on your poster. Yeah. You got to have the address line. You got to have the bell time. And you will still have people walk up and ask you as they're looking at the poster. So what time does it start? Where's it at? When? Where? And I'm just like, just keep reading. I promise you it's there.
People are like me, Connor. They can't read, okay? It's not great for the line of work I'm in, but yeah. I make do. I can't read, I can't write. That's why the kids send me to preschool all the time, because I can't do any of these things. All right, tell us about this card.
Jeremy, we lose Jeremy.
But I think
I was having the problems last week. Sorry, guys.
I think I saw where he was trying to lead me, which is tell him about the card.
Yes.
There he is.
So, yeah. So, obviously, last month we crowned our first champion. Colby Carter defeated Shane Mercer for the Pro Wrestling Symphony Championship. He will defend his title for the first time, taking on Channing Thomas. For those following us on social media, we originally had Anthony Green had stepped up to challenge him, but unfortunately, Anthony suffered an injury, so his starstruck tag team partner in Channing decided to fill in. He hates the term replacement, and he'll tell you that right to your face, but I think this is a fantastic test for Colby, and it's actually pretty cool for me because I first learned about Channing when John Alba was managing him up at Limitless. And for those who know me, John was in my wedding, so we're pretty close. And he told me great things about Channing. So he's been on my radar since I started doing this. And I'm thrilled to get a chance to get to work with him now. We're also crowning our first women's champion. We've got the same 8-person tournament kind of structured out. So we're down to the final 4. There's Freya the Slaya, Nixie XS, Kaya McKenna, and Jazzy Yang. This is another case of there is no wrong answer. I would love any 4 of these women to be our first champion, but I cannot wait to see the action that they're going to bring. Adrian Thomas taking on Tim Bosby. Bos being one of the just can't-miss blue-chip prospects. He proves that every time he steps in the ring for us. Adrian's been one of our homegrown heroes, and I'm really excited to see a clash of styles. You've got the guy with the obvious amateur wrestling background taking on an actual MMA fighter. So you'll have some fun there. And just a lot of surprises for this one. And I think it's going to be a hell of a show.
I'm looking forward to it. I was especially looking forward to seeing Channing on the show. Like we've had him on our show. It's been a while back, but he's a guy who, he's really been pretty much like a top guy everywhere he's been at. And I feel like him coming into Pro Wrestling Symphony is going to be a really good fit, and that's a really good matchup. And it was really great to interview Colby as well, by the way.
He was fantastic.
Yeah.
That was legitimately, no offense to any of our other guests, but that was legitimately one of my favorite interviews that we've done was with Colby the other week.
Yeah, so after getting to know Colby a lot better, and knowing that he's going to be going up against Channing on this show, like I'm really looking forward to that first big title defense. So I think well done on putting that together. And if you can speak any more to, I know you said you've had your eye on Channing for a long time, back to when you saw John managing him and everything. Was he just like the first person you thought of when Anthony Green went down? Was he just immediately like that's my top pick if I can get him?
There was the serendipity of, hey, they're teaming right now, and that is as a tag team. That's a pair I've really wanted to use. But we had an obvious, semi-main championship match opening. We wanted a name. We wanted someone that's been in this kind of position before, knows how to thrive in it. And Channing's one of those guys who's got the presentation down. When he walks into the room, you can tell he's a star. There are guys that are on TV that when they pop up on camera, the way they carry themselves, the way they present themselves, you can say, okay, this person belongs in this spot. They're the star that needs to be here in this moment. And Channing's been one of those guys every time I watch him on an IWTV show. So yeah, it was a real easy call.
And of course, oh, sorry, go ahead, Jeremy.
I was gonna say Channing's one of those guys that like I can't believe hasn't gotten like a bigger look from other companies, because he has kind of everything you would want when it comes to just a television wrestler.
Yeah, for him, it's a matter of when, not if.
Yeah,
not to jinx him, but I think it's only a matter of time for him.
I was just going to also add on that, I know you have a lot of really talented women on the show, as you mentioned. Are you looking forward to, of course, not only crowning the first women's champion, but given kind of the ups and downs you've had that we talked about of just the tournaments in general, are you kind of looking forward to like the tournaments are now finally ending and you can kind of move on to what you want to do next?
Mercifully, I am thrilled that the tournaments are over. Knocking on wood, but somehow so far with the women's bracket, we've managed to be unencumbered by any sort of problems. God willing, that doesn't happen Sunday. But yes, I'm very much looking forward to getting past the tournaments, simply because I don't know if you guys saw, but we announced kind of our summer lineup following this show. It's a lot of outdoor events, some crossover shows, stuff we're really excited for. And I got to tell you, not having to worry about juggling a few 8-person brackets on top of it all really makes this easier.
You should just throw one in there just for the thrill of it, Connor. Just to test and see, like, all right, what can go wrong and what can we change up if this does go wrong.
Yeah, do it like Continental Classic style too, where it's like a round robin with points, and just make it as complicated as possible throughout the tournament as well.
No kidding. But it's like I'm sad that BOLA no longer exists. So the idea of like, God, would like a battle of Nashville or something could we pick up the mantle? But then I also think that would suck to have to put on for a whole weekend. So gonna hold off on that for right now.
I don't know. You've put it out there. Now we're gonna start pushing this.
We get enough people showing up every month. I will do a battle of Nashville weekend.
I feel like it's possible with like your partnerships now, especially like the more you guys may be doing going forward with Action, a lot of crossover talent and TWE and those kind of companies like that. All, I mean, it's doable. They kind of used to do that for SCI weekend with Southern Underground Pro and the SCI tournament in Action. So I mean, there's a way I think to do it. There's enough talent around, and there's guys like Tim Bosby, as you mentioned, who when we interviewed Tim Bosby, didn't he do the interview from like he was like he was at work, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was like upstairs at like I think it was work, or I feel like it was also.
He was like the YMCA.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Tim Bosby was the man.
Out. Yeah, he was great. He had a great match against Slim J. I know we're going to talk about that later on, Jensen.
Dude was throwing him around at the TWE.
Yeah.
Steven, you mentioned, TWE is great. Action's great. I love what the SCI is still doing. I love what New South does with the Haas tournament. there's a lot of companies around us that are doing the right things, and they've been doing it for a while. So, cheap plug, but our next show is in April. We're at the East Nashville Beer Fest, and we're teaming with Action and TWE. And for me, I'm just thrilled that I get to see a couple of companies that have been at this for over a decade, just to get the chance to sit back and watch them operate. Because with a Beer Fest show, a lot of the pressure is off. You still want to deliver something great, but it's not like it is for a standard, hey, try to fill an arena show. We're not the only thing people are there to see and do. But to get back, to be able to sit back and work with and watch some of the guys, that have been running the shows for them, I can't wait, because I think it's going to be a fantastic learning experience.
I kind of know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Do you guys
No, I will not rap battle you, Jeremy. That's AJ Francis's job.
You can jump in if you want. You can get in here, Connor. Do you guys have Mania weekend plans?
So, no, not on my end. My fellow Symphony owners, Pat Dooley and Roy Miller, they've decided that they're going to hit up Vegas for Mania weekend. Mostly just to go see all the indie shows. They're not really concerned about Mania itself. It's going to see all the great talent that's going to be at WrestleCon, the collective, the count. I love seeing those big old spreadsheets that have just hey, here's something happening every hour for the next 4 days straight. And I'm like, God be with you. Go have fun. They made the decision to go while I was on my honeymoon. And I'm just sitting back like, yeah, I'm not doing this, fellas. Have fun. I did that for work for a couple of years and got my fill.
Best time of the year for indie wrestling for sure. When you, I love to do that from home. It's a great experience though live. Obviously, if you're there for like WrestleMania weekend or whatever, that's something that was like a whole culture that I didn't even really knew exist until probably around like 10 years ago when I was at whatever it was, WrestleMania 30 probably. I think you were there as well, Jeremy, in New Orleans. That was WrestleMania 30 with Danhausen. I remember a lot of people, because that was when I was starting to really tap in more to like the indie scene, especially in like the Southeast. And I remember going out to WrestleMania, and a lot of the people I was talking with were like, oh yeah, I'm leaving on Saturday or I'm leaving on Sunday. And I was like, wait, WrestleMania is like on Sunday. And they're like, yeah, but like all the shows I'm here for like tonight. And I was like, wait, right. What? Like, don't even go to WrestleMania? That's crazy. And then, I mean, but you totally can. If you're a wrestling fan, you just love wrestling and you want to see new wrestlers or support indie talent or whatever, as Connor said, there's literally there's shows that are probably starting at, 12 a.m., 1 a.m. I mean, stuff goes overnight. I mean, Janela's spring break, the clusterfuck, you never know. That might just be 5 hours and 300 people in it. You never know. So, I'm looking forward to it. Best time of the year as far as I'm concerned. So,
yeah, it's fun at home. I don't know about being there all the time, especially now because there's so much going on. Yeah, when we went, I guess it's 12 years ago for 30 Jensen, like it was not what it is nowadays. Like I didn't keep up with the indies as much back then, but I knew like everything that was going on, and like we went to the WrestleCon and stuff. But yeah, it's like Jensen said, there's something like every single second going on, and it's too much.
And Vegas is thankfully walkable, like deliberately so. And a lot of this is concentrated to just a couple of different venues. But like I did Dallas for 38 and did 39 in LA. And with both weekends, I was trying to go see as much as possible. That was a mistake because those are not walkable cities. So, and I saw wherever the hell Ring of Honor did their show was like an hour away. And I'm like, on what planet is this still Dallas? I'm in Galveston right now. And I'm not. But yeah, no, I think there's a lot of fun to be had, and I'm excited to see what all people come up with this time.
Connor, anything else before? Are you good, Jensen?
Yeah, but I froze. I froze for a second. I was sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. I didn't know if you had anything else, Connor, to promote, to plug, to let us know about the show coming up this weekend and the shows coming up in general.
Well, we've got obviously Undeniable coming up on Sunday. We're at the East Nash Beer Fest, April 11th. That's in East Park. If you get a ticket to the Beer Fest, you get the show for free. Then we are doing our first Saturday night show. We're back at Eastside Bowl on May 2nd for a show called Blinding Lights. In June, we are teaming up with the Music City Fit Expo. We are making our Nashville Fairgrounds debut. Yes, that is the old TNA Asylum stomping grounds. Anytime you hear about Nashville wrestling, they're talking about the fairgrounds. We're finally doing it. It's a rite of passage, and we're excited for it. And then July 11th, we are in the heart of downtown, about 2 blocks away from Broadway, at a venue called 6th and Peabody. It's a cool outdoor venue, and we've got a deal set up with them. It's a completely free show. No tickets, no nothing. Just walk right in and enjoy a couple hours of fantastic wrestling. We've got tickets for all this is up over at pwsymphony.com/tickets. Don't you dare miss it. And follow us on social, PW Symphony Live. We're going to be announcing a ton of big names coming in for all these shows. Some big title matches. Colby will be at the heart of a lot of these, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
There you go.
Dude, that's all that sounds. I was just saying, all that sounds awesome, but that's especially cool. You're doing the fairgrounds. Like that's real. That's really, really cool. Yeah, I've got a lot of really fond memories of going to Nashville Fairground shows for a lot of various companies that would come through there. So if you guys doing that show, that's there. What was the date on that again?
That is June 6th. That is a Saturday afternoon.
Okay, if there's any way I can be in Nashville for that, I might try to make it out for that one. That's very cool.
Exciting times.
We appreciate you, Connor. I'm sure we'll talk to you before the next show in April. Send me everything for this weekend. Make sure to get it up, get it out, all that fun stuff. And yeah, appreciate you.
Absolutely. As always, now I get to sit back and watch if Jensen's guy is finally going to win it all.
Do you want to? Do you want to stay on? Do you want to talk?
Yeah.
No. I will happily sit back and watch y'all handle it. Y'all go.
You can
appreciate it, Connor. We'll see you again next month, man. Congratulations on all the success, PWS. I know he's watching still. So, yeah. Awesome, dude. That's super cool. I there's still like my brother. I always talk about my brother, but he's not that into wrestling. He would never ever go to a pro wrestling show if I wasn't going. But he came to me to some fairground shows, and still to this day, like we'll see a random wrestler, like he'll see Eric Young on like the TNA pre-show that I'm watching or whatever, and I'll be like, fairgrounds? You know what I mean? Like he'll just like recognize people from the shows that we went to. James Storm is another. I drank some beers with James Storm one time, like after his match. Very cool. Actually, one of my favorite. I don't know if I've ever told this story before, but this is just a random story about Nashville. Walking around in a wrestler experience. I was walking down Broadway in Nashville. That's like the main street downtown where pretty much everything is happening, and there's a ton of people out, and I'm wearing a King of Strong Style Shinsuke Nakamura shirt. This is like pre-NXT Nakamura, like Intercontinental Champion over in New Japan era Nakamura. And I'm walking around with this Nakamura shirt, on Broadway at night, packed street. And some random guy, who I thought was random at the time, walks up to me and he's like, dude, I love that shirt. An awesome shirt. And I was like, I'm like very drunk. Like I used to drink a lot of alcohol. I don't really drink anymore, but I was like very, very drunk when this guy approached me and complimented my random Shinsuke Nakamura shirt. And I looked at him and I was like, cheeseburger? And my brother gets in my ear and he's like, are we about to fight this guy? And I was like, no. And he was like, you just call this guy cheeseburger? And it was cheeseburger, like from Ring of Honor. Really? It was cheeseburger. Hey. Yeah. And I got a picture with him to prove it. It's like on my Facebook from like 10 years ago. But like, I told him I was like a fan. Like I recognized him, called him. I was very drunk, but I was like cheeseburger. And my brother thought I was like insulting him because he was like, "You call this guy a cheeseburger?" And I was like, "No, like he's a wrestler."
I like that your brother's ready to throw down with you.
That just reminded me.
I like that your brother's ready to throw down with you.
Well, yeah, I mean,
he's like, all right, you're gonna insult this guy. We got to throw down. All right, let's do this.
He's not like. Yeah, he's not out there like looking to like get into a fight, but he's a he's a boxing trainer, so he's like ready to if it has to. But yeah, just talking about old Nashville wrestling memories just reminded me of that interaction with Cheeseburger. He was a very nice guy. Like I said, we got a picture afterwards. But no one else in the world would have called that shirt out at the time. Like once again, this is before Nakamura was even in NXT. In the US, like it was super rare for someone to call that out. So, anyways, that's my Cheeseburger story.
It's a good story.
Yes. Let's talk about Cody.
Oh, fine. The story never finishes.
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
Cody Rhodes is going to win the title tomorrow.
Man, how great did that whole thing just wind up lining up? I couldn't have predicted it to line up this well. So last week I made a couple predictions within the last couple of weeks. I think it was all last week, actually. I have to kind of eat crow right off the bat twice before we even get into the Cody topic, before I forget to even call myself out on this. So first off, Danhausen did debut. We're going to talk about that next. I said I'd eat my own face if he was in that box. Obviously, I can't physically do that.
What? So try.
The other thing that I brought up, remember how like a week ago I was like LA Knight should change his finisher to that jump up elbow drop?
Yeah, and that didn't look too good on Saturday.
Yeah, definitely don't change your finisher to that. As far as Cody goes, so I mean, I called last week along with those other failed predictions. I did say, hey, things could be lining up for Cody versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania. Like it kind of, it makes sense. I feel like they were going to do that at WrestleMania at some point, whether it was this year or maybe trying next year. But it makes sense to just go ahead and do it now. And they have obviously a storyline that goes back decades, but they also have the recent history with like the King of the Ring and that kind of stuff as well. So, Orton finally pulled the trigger. He won in the Elimination Chamber, punched his ticket to the championship match at WrestleMania. And then it was announced right after Cody Rhodes is getting a title shot against Drew McIntyre, which makes perfect sense because what should happen and hopefully will happen is Jacob Fatu will come out. He'll cost Drew the championship because Drew cost Fatu recently and he cost Cody recently. So this whole triangle between those three is going to kind of boil down at WrestleMania to Drew McIntyre versus Jacob Fatu one-on-one without the title on the line, of course, because it'll be WWE champion, three-time champion Cody Raheem Rhodes versus Randy Orton for the championship. Student versus mentor. I almost called it Evolution. I want to call it Priceless because that was the tag team. Why can't I think of the name of the damn group?
Oh, it's Ted DiBiase?
Yeah, Priceless was the tag team.
Yeah, Priceless.
Evolution was Orton's group.
Legacy.
That was it. That was like on the tip of my tongue. I couldn't think of the damn name of the group. You see what's going on with that? We don't need to talk about it, but that just reminded me. You see what's been going on with the DiBiases? That's a bummer. Yeah, they're in some real hot water. But anyways, yeah, Cody. That's the match, and I'm very happy that this is. They could still technically go the route of a multi-man match, like a 4-way match or a 3-way or something, but I really just feel like it's just lining up perfectly to where they're going to do Fatu versus Drew, and they'll do Cody versus Orton for the championship. And Cody should retain at WrestleMania too. That's my prediction on that also.
Well, I mean, of course you think he should retain at WrestleMania.
Of course. I'm literally never going to choose against him.
Yeah. I think he's going to win tomorrow. I think they see, and I'm not necessarily, I don't know if they're wrong. They see Cody and Randy as a bigger match than a multi-man match. I'd kind of prefer a multi-man match just because you get Jacob Fatu in there and you get him a WrestleMania main event and you make him feel like a very big deal when you're really lacking for kind of newer talent that haven't been in these kind of spots. So I would prefer if it was kind of a multi-man match, largely for that reason. Because otherwise, all right, Cody, Randy, Punk, and Reigns are your 2 WrestleMania main events.
Yep.
Great. Your combined age there is about 200. Like these guys are probably going to be around for, another 5 years or so with the way they're going. But it'd just be nice if you got some fresher people in the mix, at least on one of these main events. Because last year was kind of the same thing. Roman, Punk, Cody, Cena, Seth. Those were your 5 main eventers. And it's kind of just the same people. You have 2 nights of a main event. Use it to like make somebody off of this. Look at when Bianca got the main event. She got made off of that. Becky was in the main event. I mean, that was when it was one night and she was the main event and she won and she was made off of that. Like, you got 2 nights. Like, you can actually do something to make somebody with this. So that's one of the reasons why I'm against Cody and Randy. It's just put some fresh people in there.
Yeah, I understand your argument, but I think that the mindset of the decision makers in WWE is just going with the bigger matches. I mean, obviously Orton versus Cody on paper and Punk versus Roman on paper is going to just be bigger than, I mean, y'all know how much I love Drew McIntyre, but they're all bigger stars than Drew McIntyre, Jacob. They have time with Jacob. Like, Jacob was going to be a main eventer.
This whole, they have time and everything. I hate.
It's true.
Hate. It's not true, though.
It is true.
When
it comes to this, well, what are you going to do? You're not going to. So you would prefer if they did a 3-way match, a 4-way match?
A 4-way. Well, I would prefer if Rhea Ripley was in the main event against Io Sky. That would be my preference. But if we're going to talk strictly what's happening on television and how they're aligning things, I think a 4-way would be preferable because at least you're getting somebody newer and fresher like Jacob Fatu in there.
Does your argument change at all if they're not the main event? Like with just Cody and Randy, like the co-main and Rhea main events night 1 or something?
Well, I don't think. Well, with Rhea and who? Rhea and
Jade.
See, I want Rhea.
I know it's a risky main event. I get it. It's only risky because Jade's a bit more limited in the ring. We talked about it last week. She just hasn't had long matches and stuff. Like, we just don't. Yeah. There's not a big sample size. On paper, though, I said it last week, though, I was like, on paper, Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill, especially to like a casual fan on like a poster, you would see those 2 women, and even if you didn't know about wrestling, you might be interested. Like, they look, super women, they're like, so I think that, Rhea's a proven main eventer. Like, she could main event. I don't think anyone would have a problem with it. Just a matter of, I'm just hoping, as a Jade fan, I'm hoping she just rises to the occasion and has a good match. I don't know. I don't know if that'll be the main event either. And I doubt that it'll be Stephanie versus Alexa. Oh, sorry, not Alexa, Liv. But, Liv, I do think is like, I could see Liv main eventing one of the nights of WrestleMania. Like, she's a very big star in the company, super over.
Well, they have time. They don't have to do it this year. They have time.
True. They do. You're right.
It's a stupid.
Thanks for agreeing with me.
It's a dumb argument, the whole they have time thing, because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't. AEW had time to do Cody and CM Punk, right? They had time in 2021. It's like, oh, they have time to do it. And then what happened in 2022, in 2023?
Yeah, no, I just don't foresee Jacob Fatu not being in the WWE like a year from now.
It's not even like, okay, maybe he's still in WWE. Injuries are a thing. Other people like taking spots are a thing. This was my whole argument with Braun Breaker of, he has time to main event WrestleMania. He has time to win the title. Remember, everyone thought when they didn't put the title on him in the Punk match, or even before that, when they didn't put the title on him after Seth got hurt, it was like, they don't want to give him the title at Saturday night's main event because it'll be a bigger deal when he wins the title at WrestleMania. What's Braun Breaker doing at WrestleMania? not fighting for the title,
And
maybe not fighting at all because
injured.
he's hurt.
Yeah.
So this whole they got time thing, it's bullshit to me. It's absolute bullshit. They have time in years, theoretically, yes, but that doesn't mean anything with the way life works.
Okay, fair enough. What I'll do is I will reword my statement and just say it very bluntly. Jacob Fatu is not even close to as big of a star as any of the 4 people who were main eventing WrestleMania, and that's why those 4 are main eventing WrestleMania this year.
He's not, but I'm not taking anybody out of the main event of WrestleMania. I'm not saying give Jacob Fatu the spot and take Randy out of the match, take Cody out of the match. They're still main eventing WrestleMania. It's just a 4-way instead of a singles match.
Which is something that, up until the kind of clear path for Cody versus Randy took place, I was the one the last probably month or so that's been saying I was all about the idea of a triple threat or a 4-way, even adding Sami Zayn in there. So I'm not against the idea of the 4-way match. It's just realistically speaking, where we're at with what's been announced, I think it's pretty clear what's happening.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Randy and Cody. I do think Cody's going to win tomorrow, and I do think it'll be Randy and Cody. I guess the only way it wouldn't be is if Jacob does get involved and it's a DQ, and then Cody's so mad that he's fighting Jacob, and then Cody's then mad that, he didn't get a fair title shot, and Nick Aldis is just like, fine, we're going to do a 4-way. I think that Drew's point, because Drew said, like, if you do a multi-man match at WrestleMania, what was the point of the chamber? Like, I think that's a fair point if you do this multi-man match, because, yeah, then Randy just won this chamber match and he's still stuck in this 4-way match. I think you could get there if Jacob interferes, costs Drew, Cody wins, and then Drew is so upset that he got screwed out of the title that he's like, I deserve a rematch. I should be in the main event of WrestleMania. This guy cost me the title. And then Jacob gets in the match because he's just involved in the storyline. So there's ways to get to the 4-way. I fully expect Cody wins, Cody and Randy, Jacob and Drew do some type of stipulation match.
Which will be fire, by the way. Like, they're going to have a really good match and potentially steal the show on whatever night they're on. And then, I do think Jacob Fatu is going to be one of their top guys very soon. He kind of already is. It's just a matter of just, I don't want to say it's a matter of time because I don't want you to get all upset that I'm saying he has time, but I think he has time. But, he also, it was year after year. It was so frustrating when I was covering MLW for all those years, and he was there, and, he was the top guy for years while he was there, of course. But it was always like, man, if this guy ever got to WWE, and now he's there, and, he's doing really good. He's gotten in a lot better shape as well. Like, you got to give him a lot of credit. Like, he's really, he's really putting it all together. Very believable, brings something different to the table. I think it's really cool too how he has the merch that's like it's like Oakland Raider football jersey style merch and stuff like that. Like, just very marketable. I have his action figure, of course. Yeah, I'm a fan, obviously, but I'm a bigger fan of Cody, and I just think it makes sense for Cody and Randy Orton to just have that match this year. And
okay,
obviously. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
What if I told you they're gonna do Cody and Randy 1-on-1, but Cody loses the title to Randy, or they do a 4-way match and Cody wins that match?
Choice B.
Okay. All right.
Whatever results in Cody title reign again, back on top.
Well, he gets a title reign through both of them. The first one,
yeah,
you just know it's going to end at WrestleMania. The second one, you don't know when it's going to end. It could end the following week on SmackDown, for all you know. But he gets the victory at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of him just kind of having like a short run, like the belt popcorning around and stuff like that, especially when Roman had such a long reign with it. I know that not everyone has to have a 1,000-day plus reign with the title. I get all that, but I do prefer some runs than people losing the title after like a couple months over and over.
I think if Cody wins the title, he's losing at WrestleMania. I think they're giving Randy another reign, and like they love Randy.
Sure.
And there's stuff you can do with Randy that feels a little bit fresher than the stuff you can do with Cody. And maybe Randy goes full heel out of this. Maybe Cody goes full heel out of this. I don't know, but I kind of think if it's Cody and Randy, I think Randy's winning.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how this all shakes down, pans out, whatever I'm trying to say. We will have some clarity coming out of Friday or tomorrow night. Yeah. I'm hoping Cody, use the title again. The only alternate for me as a Cody fan is at some point they could have a longer extended feud between Randy and Cody. I wouldn't necessarily hate that, and I do think that a heel Randy Orton, I think, would be probably the moves that they're going to go with. I'm not against them turning Cody either. I'm not completely against it, but I don't think they necessarily need to. At some point, I think it'd be interesting for him to turn heel, but I think there's still a lot of white meat on the bone still for Cody Rhodes as the white meat babyface. So I think Orton's going to be the one turning heel, but I'm looking forward to it. But outside of that, all Cody could do, we can't have a situation, I feel like, where he just does the Roman Reigns thing and goes for the other world title if like Roman is over on the other show, depending on what happens with with Roman and Punk. That's something too, is like who's going to win between. We'll talk more about that once WrestleMania is closer, but it's a pretty big decision to make if Roman or Punk's going to win, because Roman wins, he stays on Raw. Cody by himself still on SmackDown. I want to see Cody on Raw, though, personally. I would much rather him be on Raw every Monday than SmackDown, just for my own selfish reasons of, kind of just preferring to watch Monday Night Wrestling instead of Friday Night Wrestling. But, yeah, you got the one up for Roman.
The Tribal Chief.
That was an interesting back and forth this week between those two. Another one. Yeah, the last line by Punk was very not babyface. It was like, why did you do that unless you're wanting him to get booed? Which maybe that is what they're going for.
It was not babyface, and like, it wasn't babyface. I just find that stuff lame. Whether you're a babyface or a heel, like, I think it's lame when people do it with Cody. I think it's lame when like MJF does it. Like, the only person who gets away with it is Christian because he's turned it into a bit.
Gimmick.
Yeah, everybody else, like, I just think this is what you have to go for. Like, this is your big line of, hey, you have a dead relative. Like, newsflash, we probably all have dead relatives. Like,
yep.
But I get, because his dad was in the business, and so you can say it and it has more impact because we know who his dad is. Where if Roman just says something about Punk's dad, it's like, well, we don't really know him, so whatever. I'm very afraid that Roman's going to mention Larry, and I think that would be just as lame as this line.
If you can't drag little Larry into this.
Well, they've set the precedent now.
No, I know. I'm just saying, Punk might actually swing, and
Roman should
dangerous Punk. We know how dangerous Punk is on when it comes to the real fighting. But obviously none of it's cool. Like, I would imagine that stuff gets okayed beforehand, because I don't think that, as big as CM Punk's ego is, I don't think he wants to actually get in a situation where Roman Reigns actually wants to kick his ass, because he would. And it would just make Roman look lame to retaliate by, I have my differences with CM Punk over the years, okay? But, I've always been a Larry supporter. I have a soft spot for little dogs like that. So especially ones that have been like saved and stuff. It's a beautiful story what he did for that little dog. But that all said, it's super, super, super lame and low to go after somebody's dead relatives, obviously, unless you're Christian. And they also, don't forget, Roman Reigns, Rosie, his brother, passed away also. Like, I'm really hoping Punk doesn't go there also, because that would be also super lame. So that one not as recent. His father, that was pretty recent passing, also pretty fresh.
It was like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
it
none of it's
years
cool,
ago.
But, yeah. So, anyways, yeah, that's WrestleMania. That's what WrestleMania is looking like so far. A bunch of big stars, and hopefully Cody, main eventing, title on the line. So.
Okay, that was me.
I lost you for a second.
Yeah,
we're good now.
That was me. Yeah. All right, you got to eat your face, Jensen. Danhausen was in the crate. Started.
Oh man.
No excuses. Yeah, like bite your lip. I don't like that. I feel like that's the only way you can do it. Yeah. No excuses here. You said it was not going to be Danhausen, and yet here we are.
Yes, it was very nice, very evil Danhausen coming out of the box. Okay. So when I realized it was going to be Danhausen, so the box, everyone saw what happened. The box opened. It was pried open by the general managers. There was a crate, and there was inside of it's a coffin. When I saw the coffin, I was like, oh my God, it actually might be Danhausen. And then when I heard the laugh, I was like, oh my God, it's actually Danhausen. And then I watched what happened with like the whole dance number. It was like the eight women that were, one being his wife, which is very cool. They were all, dressed up like Danhausen with the face paint and do the whole thing. Danhausen gives Michael Cole jar of teeth. And every time he does his little curse motion, like a very weak, like pyro, almost like Orange Cassidy style, like little like puff pyro, like, yeah. When this happened and the crowd started booing, I was laughing so hard that I was crying when I was watching it. I could not believe that was actually the move that they went with. And then I saw the fan footage of like them, like, because it's not that dark in the arena. So you see them like all leaving the ring together and getting under the ring while everyone's booing and everything. And when it was all said and done, I was like, Danhausen is going to be a fucking humongous star in the WWE. He actually is. And when that happened, I was like, that was actually the best thing that could, like, people didn't realize it as it was happening, but like right when it ended and I thought about it, I was like, this was the best thing that could have happened to him, because he's the kind of guy with his character who would either be completely oblivious to being booed or thinks he's being cheered or is in on the boos. Like he's the only guy who will somehow roll with that, because he can just be known to be like super annoying and like not be in on the joke, even though he is the joke. And then when on Raw, when he had that interaction with the Judgment Day and he cursed Dom and he was mentioning about how he got cheered at the show and all this stuff, and his list of demands called Adam Pearce Cold Stone Steve Austin and everything, I was like, this is going to actually work so well. Like, I am super happy for Danhausen. Like, I thought this was going to be a complete disaster, like, before the debut happened, because I was like, how's this guy going to really fit in? I think he's going to go to NXT if he even gets signed at all. He's, like, the overall wrestling, the overall wrestlers nowadays physically are much smaller than they were in the 90s and everything, of course, on average. But Danhausen is especially small. Like, he's small even compared to most of the talent currently. Like, how is this going to work out? People are going to get the gimmick. He's going to get booed. People are expecting Chris Jericho. Like, this is going to be just a total disaster. And then after it happened, and the way that they kind of like introduced him on Raw, and knowing that his merchandise actually is selling really well, like the kids are gonna love him the more they get to see him. He's gonna be a guy who probably wrestles rarely, and when he does, it's gonna be like him and R-Truth, him and Mr. Iguana. It'll be like he'll be the reason the Demon Balor probably returns. Like he'll curse Dom, and like the demon will somehow. But what's so great about Danhausen's character is he like, as long as they can keep it very vague and like clear that his curses, like all these things would have happened regardless of the curse, right? Like Penta would have won over Dom whether or not he was cursed, but Danhausen could take credit because he did curse him. Like if Finn Balor comes back as the demon, Danhausen can take credit for that, but Finn Balor can claim that he has nothing to do with it. But like there's so many ways you can go with this guy's character. I actually think it's going to work really, really well for him, and he's going to make a ton of money, and they're going to sell a ton of merchandise.
Oh, I think he was always going to work in WWE because he is very good at the things they like. He's great at just like 30-second backstage vignettes, and you saw it on Monday. Gets in, he says some jokes, he does a curse, Dom loses, so it's like, oh, the curse has power now. He's always moved merch. Like, didn't matter where. Like, people just like, they like the voice, they like the
love
face paint.
Danhausen.
Yeah, they do love that Danhausen. Like, they like the wackiness of it all. Like, he is a very good WWE character. He doesn't have to wrestle. I don't expect him to wrestle unless, like you said, it's some random tag team match or whatever it might be. But he's a guy that he checks a lot of boxes for them. The debut, I didn't think the debut was good. I thought they set him up to fail because they put him in the box and people are like, oh, who's it gonna be? It's gonna be something big. And it's like anytime anyone ever comes out of these boxes and stuff, like it's never a big deal. I said it last week. I was like, this is the Gooker egg. That's where my expectation is. It's the gobbledygooker egg. Don't expect much out of it. It was Danhausen, which is cool, but the way it was done, it was just I thought they would have been better off doing doing this whole thing kind of backstage. Is they open the crate backstage, it's Pierce and Aldis, and out pops Danhausen, and he's like, like what? Who are you guys? He calls Pierce Cold Stone. He calls Aldis whatever he wants to call Brutus Magnus or something. I don't care. And then they're both just like weirded out by him, and they're like, "What is this?" But trying to like put him in front of a live crowd and do this big production thing, like it was always probably gonna get booed in Chicago, and I don't think it helped. Like they turned the lights down, and then they like lingered on it for a little while. and like you could hear the boos and everything. Like I half expected somebody else to come out.
Yeah.
Like because they lingered on that shot for so long. I was like, oh, who's coming here? And then they just went to commercial or whatever they did. So yeah, the debut was kind of set up to fail, but I don't think he is going to fail because I think that he's what they need.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's gonna work really well. I really do. A couple of things. Like when it comes to opening the box backstage and all that, I think there's definitely different ways that they could have done it, but I do think it's kind of funny how the box itself, they kept kind of passing from like Raw to SmackDown, and it was almost implied, like if you're a giant wrestling nerd like we are, you could almost make it implied like AEW sent the box to WWE. Like we don't want it. Like we don't want this guy. Like and like Raw's like we don't want him. It's like we don't want him. And like it's like this guy is just like a giant like he's like persona non grata. He's just like this guy who just he curses people. He annoys people. We don't want to deal with his problem anymore. You deal with him. And but his character is so perfect for something like that. So yeah, I think that's gonna work really well. Yeah. But yeah, I'm happy for him. I think I I saw that there was like reports from Fightful and stuff that there was maybe some backstage, maybe disagreements creatively, or there was Danhausen's a polarizing character to the fans, but also I'm sure the people that are booking him too. And I saw stuff where it would make sense if, a lot of people like thought people were going to know or other people didn't. I think at some point down the line, some of the top decision makers in WWE, whoever they were, they overthought this. And I think that they thought that we're in Chicago, hardcore wrestling fans, even though it's a WWE show, we're going to get a lot of diehard wrestling fans. They're going to know that Punk and Danhausen are fans. This is Punk's town. Like, I think that they overestimated and thought that the fans were going to react to him differently. But if you listen to our show last week, and obviously you heard me say, because we were talking to one another, I literally said, if he's debuting on the main roster, like, no one's going to know who he is. It's going to be a disaster. And that's kind of what wound up happening. But I think that was part of it. I think they overestimated and thought that the crowd was going to respond differently. But also he was put in a position to lose, like you said and I said, when people are thinking Chris Jericho or some other big surprise, someone they recognize or a return or something like that. And then they see this guy that they're like, who is this guy? But that all said, rebounded great on Monday. I will probably buy a Danhausen t-shirt. I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm going to buy his merch. I was actually, no joke, I was at the first show he ever painted his face for a wrestling match. People can fact check that, but I was definitely there live. It was a Southern Underground Pro show, Subgraps in Nashville, Tennessee. It was their Halloween show. And this would have had to have been in like 2017 or 18, something like that. And I remember because I had seen Danhausen wrestle without the face paint, but then they had like a Halloween themed show. So he painted his face for that. But that was more of like a demonic, like evil, like actually evil character where he came out in like a trash bag or like a body bag and had like a railroad spike and stuff. Like, he was trained by Jimmy Jacobs. People may not know. So like the railroad spike and stuff. So anyway, he wound up tweaking the character later on. He kept the face paint, but a different version of it, and started using that. I think the first time I saw like the current Danhausen character was probably BLP, Black Label Pro, maybe AEW, but it was like those kind of companies, kind of gave Danhausen a chance to do like the comedy version of this character. And then from there, it just took off to what it is now after all these years. So, I'm a longtime Danhausen supporter. As I mentioned, I wanted to work out for him. I was very skeptical, but I actually think he's going to do great. Looking forward to the run.
Henry saying, how about that CM Punk intro on Saturday? I loved it. How are you guys doing today? That was a good cold open. I did like the CM Punk. I mean, it's Chicago. You can't go wrong with like putting Punk in that type of intro in Chicago. And I'm doing well, Henry. How are you doing?
Yes, thank you, Henry. I'm doing well as well. I'm looking forward to the weekend. The World Baseball Classic is back. We usually talk traditional sports at the beginning of the show, but we have kind of a hard out tonight, so didn't get a chance to do that today. But that's kind of what I'm planning to do most of the weekend, Henry. And to anyone in the chat who's a baseball fan, World Baseball Classic started last night. It's a lot of fun. 20 teams all over the world, basically a World Olympics style baseball tournament. And the players actually care. Like, they actually want to go out there and win. Like, I'm excited for it. And there's a lot of games, all day on like Saturday and Sunday and stuff. So I'm going to be hanging out. So I'm looking forward to getting through one more day of work. Like, I'm sure most of y'all here in the chat are, get through tonight, even if you're working tonight, get through Friday, and then on to hopefully chilling Saturday and Sunday, watching a lot of baseball and the UFC, the BMF title fight on Saturday night. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, I do look forward to, I am looking forward to Oliveira and Holloway too on Saturday. Should be good.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, let's head to our AEW spotlight.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. It was a great show, and I think it's been a run of great shows.
The Trios titles changed hands on AEW television. They now belong to the Don Callis family trio of Kyle Fletcher, Kazuchika Okada, and Mark Davis, who defeated Jet Set Rodeo last night. What'd you make of the match and kind of how they set things up and then putting the titles on the Don Callis family?
Well, I think it makes sense that they took the titles off of Jet Set Rodeo, which for people who may not know the reference, at least the reference I think that's referring to, that's a Jet Set Radio reference, right? The video game. But like I remember that was like an Xbox, like an original Xbox game, Jet Set Radio. I'm almost positive.
Oh, maybe.
Anyways, someone in the chat will know. I'm too lazy to look it up. I don't want my computer to freeze. But anyways, I figured they take the titles off of them, especially because Hangman's got the world title match coming up. And, you know, I still don't know which way that's going. I think I was leaning more Hangman last week. I might be going more MJF this week. Stipulations really got me, you know, which is doing its job. You know, AEW's, it's working. I'm intrigued with the whole Hangman can't challenge for the title ever again thing if he loses. I thought it was a terrible idea to do to Cody. It would be a terrible idea to do to Hangman. But it also does make me more interested in his match with MJF. I'm not going to lie. It is working from that aspect. But I thought the match was good. I mean, Don Callis family, you know, Proto Okada, obviously, they're just out there like belt collecting right now. And this gives Davis something to do with Jake something being out. Do you have any idea how long he's out for injury?
No, it didn't seem like it was good. So anything I say would just be speculating. No, I have no idea.
Gotcha. That's such a bummer that he got hurt so fast after debuting in AEW, especially. But you know, so it gives Davis something to do. He's doing really good work. He's always been a really good worker. He's always just been overshadowed by kind of whoever's been around him, especially Kyle Fletcher. But having them teaming together along with Okada, you know, I thought the match was good too. I mean, literally all 6 of these guys are great, and having Kevin Knight pulling double duty and everything, and he takes the pin, like it all. You know, I think it all worked. You know, it all worked really well. Like if the intended result was to get the titles off of Hangman and Jet Speed, then they accomplished that. Unfortunately for me, like I really don't care too much about the trios titles. I just think they're kind of just titles that you don't necessarily need. It's a lot of random teams usually, that a lot of these can just be tag teams in a lot of cases. But I do like the 6-man matches and the multi-man matches they do in AEW. The mixed tags, the women tags, I think that the multi-person matches they do in AEW are really good. Last week's main event is a good example of that too, that we covered. It was an awesome main event. So, yeah, no, I liked all this. I didn't really have a preference on who was going to win, but I did think it made Davis look good that he got the pin, for his team. And now you have Okada with the international championship, the trios championship. You have Okada, mixing them up. Okada with the international and the tag. You have Fletcher with trios, the right. TNT. Or sorry, the trios. You have and then you have Fletcher with the trios and the TNT, and now Davis with one of the trios. So to get, now Davis maybe needs to find a singles title. There's plenty of them. Just go after Ricochet whenever he's done with Jack Perry. Go after Jack Perry.
Yeah, we don't need more people getting more titles. No, don't need.
No, we don't. And like I said, I think I said it last week. I do think the route that they'll actually go is Takeshita beating Moxley for the Continental Championship, and then they'll do Takeshita versus Okada and reunify, unified championship again to technically make it one less title, even though it's technically it's adding a championship because you're adding the unified title and now you have 3 belts, but it's also technically consolidating one title, like 3 titles into one recognized champion. So choose your own adventure on that mind fuck. I didn't think about that. Anyways.
I thought
how do you get fatter and skinnier at the same time?
I thought that
how you're adding and subtracting at the same time.
I thought them doing the whole like the show long narrative was really good stuff. Because Kevin Knight faced MJF to start, Hangman had the squash match, and then they got to the trios match off of that, which was building from Saturday as well. And I really like the match, and I like the finish with MJF using the diamond ring, Kevin Knight getting pinned because he was banged up as well. Mark Davis looked badass with that pile driver. So I loved everything about it. I do question of like, okay, well, now you've got the trios titles on a guy who's your TNT champion and a guy who's your international champion, where Okada doesn't defend that title anyway. People were complaining that Hangman, Speedball, and Kevin Knight were the trios champions because Kevin Knight and Hangman were going after the world title, but they were just going after titles. Now you've got the trios titles on two guys who are actual champions. And you already have Willow with the TBS title and the tag team titles. It's like how much like title mixing do we need here? That's my only complaint about it. But otherwise, yeah, I thought everything they did last night was really good.
And the answer, by the way, even though what you just said was meant to be a rhetorical question, the answer is none. You don't need any of the title mixing. Like, I know that you have a ton of titles. That might be the problem. You probably don't need as many titles as you have on the show. But also, once again, somehow fatter and skinnier at the same time. Less is more somehow. Because you technically do have like a humongous roster of talent in AEW. So you have more than enough performers to where the ratio of performers to the title belts might technically kind of make sense, but you also only have so much TV time. So, and that kind of leads into our next spotlight, actually. It's kind of a good segue. I don't know if we're good on the last topic. We go right into. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Tee this up.
So David Finlay made his AEW debut last night. He aligned with his former Bullet Club War Dogs, and now just the Dogs. Gabe Kidd and Clark Connors attacking Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin, and then Tony Khan announced that all three of the Dogs are signed, and David Finlay is now All Elite.
Speaking of title mixing, we need to try to also avoid gimmick mixing, because Brody King's got a good thing going for him right now with the people barking, right? And now you got a team called the Dogs. What do you think people are going to be doing when they come out? They're going to be barking. It's going to be confusing. It's going to kind of take over Brody's thing. Maybe they won't. You're probably right. Maybe I'm overthinking that. Like, it was good to see Dave Finlay on the show, like, because I was interested in where he was going to land. There was a lot of talk about him going to WWE as well, especially with his brother Brogan already being there. And there's like a story going on in NXT where they're like a second generation group.
Yeah, imagine getting pitched that story of, hey, do you want to hang out with a bunch of guys who we don't feature ever on television and be the leader of this second generation group and probably have to change your name? Or do you want to be with people you've been with for the past few years and your friends?
Yeah, and on actual, NXT is on CW, to be fair, but you're on main roster, quote unquote, AEW, on TBS and TNT versus tucked away in NXT. And this is coming off of being one of the top featured acts in New Japan over the last, handful of years. He's been there longer, but, especially being, he was always put in kind of a no-win situation. And I do give him a bit of, I guess, I don't know if sympathy is the right word. Not that he would need it from me, but Dave Finlay was just kind of in a weird spot. What I mean by that is he was kind of thrust into the top Gaijin New Japan position, but after like Finn Balor and AJ Styles and Kenny Omega and Jay White. And it's like, when you have that lineup of talent and like, you're the next guy, and just my honest opinion, you're not the same level as those guys. I think he got a lot of flack for that. Like, he wasn't, when you think of the Bullet Club leaders and stuff like that, he's not a name that's going to come to people's minds when they talk about that group historically and stuff, so it's just, but the reason I say all of this is because I do think he does have a lot of talent, and I think he could be a big asset to a company, especially in a group like this in AEW. Obviously, there's a lot of groups in AEW to begin with, but that's also kind of why he fits in. I think Gabe Kidd has done especially good work in AEW. And you have Gabe Kidd, Clark Connor's getting more work now, and he's always been very solid as well. I think that collectively they could have a good thing going for them. And they have the right opponents also for this first feud for the group, because they've been going at it with Darby for a while, Gabe Kidd especially. And then Orange has been dragged into this as well. And so you have two of the most sympathetic top homegrown baby faces in AEW, and Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin, two undersized guys as well, who like really have to, fight from the bottom and like overcome massive adversity to beat a team like the Dogs with the way that the Dogs have been presented. I think the main question now is who's the third man for the good guys that joins up here.
I mean, maybe Kyle O'Reilly if he's close to being back. Mark Briscoe's still part of the conglomeration. Roddy is missing, but that's the story, is like he's away from the conglomeration, so he could easily like return and be like the savior and get a big pop off of that. Those would be my top 3 options who all make sense.
Let me know in the chat, anyone who's here live, if you want to put a chat in. It doesn't have to be a super chat, just any kind of chat. If you have thoughts on who the third person could be. I love the Kyle O'Reilly idea. Obviously I'm a huge fan of his. He's just been hurt again, right? Because he's been off TV. It's so unfortunate, all the stops and starts that he's had to deal with his injuries. They had such momentum coming off of the Moxley matches. But anyways, I guess that's all to say that I think the Dogs are at least set up for success initially. The big question, obviously, with anyone who debuts in AEW, really regardless of what level they're at coming in, is what kind of momentum can you sustain and how often are you going to be used? Because, we could see these guys wrestling weekly, every couple weeks, whether it's Dynamite or Collision. But there's also people in AEW who only wrestle a few times a year. Like Danhausen is a good example. Danhausen, I think over the 4 years he was in AEW, he probably wrestled less than 10 times. Like for AEW itself, definitely less than 10 times. But if you count that and Ring of Honor, it's probably like 10 times. So, and he's not alone in that. There's a lot of people. Rusev had like 4 matches over the span of his last like few years or whatever it was. I mean, so some of these people just wind up not doing a whole lot, but are on the roster for a long time. So I'm hoping that's not the case with, especially, I also think part of this too, to be fair, is we're seeing a lot of debuts on the opposite shows right now. We're seeing like Royce Keys, for example, when he went over to WWE, it seems like they don't have much of a plan for him. Maybe they do, but he hasn't done anything since the Royal Rumble outside of, I think he's maybe done like a main event match or something like that. That's it. Yeah. So it's like, but the big story there was, well, we got one of AEW's guys and he made a big debut. What they do from there, who knows? But you look over on AEW and it's like, okay, well, we got Dave Finlay now and all the War Dogs. And then you look at WWE and it's like, well, we got Danhausen. It's like, so there's also a lot of that going on right now, I feel like, as well. The company's kind of making plays to make a big splash of kind of the unpredictability of what free agent is going where next. Jericho is going to be the big mystery until he shows up again soon and stuff like that. So it's an interesting time and a fun time as a wrestling fan for sure, though. And as a wrestler, this has got to be the best time ever to be an actual pro wrestler with the options you have and the money you can make and, both these big companies paying big money. So,
yeah. All right, let's go to our indie spotlight.
I'm gonna give a big motherfucking shout out.
We mentioned Tim Bosby against Slim J from Action Death Valley Days Road Report, but the spotlight is actually Matt Mako against Karl Malenko from that same show. I don't know about you, Jensen, but when I saw Karl Malenko get announced for this, I was like, oh, that rules. Like, he's he's from our time, and he's, MMA hybrid as well. Did a lot of battle art stuff. I mean, fought in MMA, fought Vanderlei Silva. So
Prime.
so he's very much like our generation type guy. So when he got announced, I was like, this rules. And then when I saw he's facing Mako, who's been on our show multiple times, like, this is even cooler. And then they went out there, they had a fucking fantastic match. So Malenko did get the victory. Matt Mako just has to lose. Dork-ass Matt Mako. No, we love Matt. It would have been nice if he
definitely don't say it.
But
yeah.
No, we love Matt.
Yeah.
Just treated like a loser out here.
No. Well, I'll have him confront you. Well, maybe we should I'll reach out to Matt. Maybe we can get him on next week to talk about the match.
All right, cool.
Yeah. So when they announced Carl Malenko, whether you know him as Carl Malenko or Carl Greco or Carl Greco Malenko, I believe also the masked, either the masked wrestler or the masked superstar. He does like another mask gimmick, but I don't think he's wrestled. It's been at least 10 years, maybe 15 years since he's had a one-on-one match like this.
Yeah.
It's been a super long time. So when he was announced for it, the first thing I was confused, because the first thing I'm thinking was Pride. Like you mentioned, the Vanderlei Silva fight. I'm just thinking that can't be the same guy that I'm thinking of. And then I realized it was, and I was just like, I was mind blown. And then of course you mentioned Battle Arts. His feud, I'm so bad with some of the names. I think with Ishikawa, I think he was the guy who ran Battle Arts. Ishikawa, I'm almost positive. The two of them had a lot of really good like for people who don't know what Battle Arts was, it was like this hybrid work shoot style promotion where it was quote unquote fake. I'm not using that word derogatory. I'm just saying it was quote unquote fake. It was predetermined pro wrestling, but they did it in the style of MMA. Kind of think Bloodsport nowadays. Yeah. Kind of similar to that, like a really early version of that, but at a time where it was really hard, especially if you didn't really know the ins and outs of wrestling or MMA. A lot of people could watch something like that back then and think it was legitimate because it looked a lot more legitimate than what you would see on like the WWF, for example. So anyways, that guy comes from those days. I don't even know what age he is currently. He's got to be like 60. I'm not, once again, not trying to be disrespectful, but
shape for 60.
Oh, I mean, maybe in his 50s. I mean, he's got white hair. He looks, dude, if I'm in that kind of shape, I'm not in that kind of shape now when I'm 37. Like, I'm not, like I could only, this guy rules. Okay. I'm trying to give this guy his flowers. This guy's awesome. So when I found out he was even making any kind of return at all, I was like, that's crazy. And then it's like, wait, it's against Matt Mako. This is literally the best matchup you could possibly have. And also, I'm sure a lot of the motivation for him coming out of a decade plus long retirement, because we wouldn't do it against just anybody for no reason. This is an Action Dean style event for the hardest of the hardcore, and I mean this lovingly, nerd wrestling fans of the indies, like my people, like in an arena full of people that I'm friends with, people we've had on this show, Boston Nuga in the crowd, front row, like these are our people. And so he gets to do this in front of people who appreciate it also in the TW arena and that kind of stuff. So I was very happy to see that the match was announced. I was very happy with the match itself. I was happy that Matt got to be the one in the ring who got kind of the honor of being the return match. And I thought the match itself was like, it was done perfectly. They did a work shoot style match. For people who might have missed our interviews or might not know about Matt Mako, FKA and real name, Matt Mikowski, he, obviously currently an indie wrestler, but previously had fought in Bellator, had a legitimate run in mixed martial arts. He choked out Joe Schilling, who some of y'all might know. It was a really, really dangerous kickboxer. And Matt Mako choked him out in MMA. So Mako, very, very, very legitimate. And they were in there. Like something I'm going to ask Matt whenever we talk to him is how much because obviously in pro wrestling, you're working with one another and you're protecting one another. but how much of like the judo throws and stuff that Carl was doing did Matt have to even like cooperate? Because it looked like Carl's just doing actual, like his technique is still so sound that he's out there like actually doing the throws and stuff still at his age, which is just super impressive. So, and then Carl wound up winning with a knee bar after like a bunch of transition spots, you know, submission to submission and stuff like that from both guys, reversals. I recommend just check the whole show out over on independentwrestling.tv.
This show is straight up like my alley too, because I'm not sure there was a match like over 15 minutes. Like everything is get in, get out, and it's just over with. Like there's no long, drawn out kind of stuff. And look, the people who do those matches for the most part are very good at that kind of stuff. But this is such a good indie show of we're gonna give you like 2 hours of just straight action where again no match is gonna overstay its welcome. Nobody's gonna go out there and try to get all their shit in to steal the crowd at a 20-minute match type of thing. Like I legitimately, like every match flew by, and it's one because they were great, but also like they were all just like short, but didn't like that's not a bad thing when it came to this. So no, this is one of the best indie shows I've ever seen for part of that as well.
Dude, I mean, Action Wrestling, all those companies that work together, like the ones we were talking about, you know, working with Connor now and everything, those it's the same. You get a lot of overlap crowd too. Like I can't stress it enough how much the fans appreciate it. And like the setting is so perfect for these kind of shows too. Because by the time you get around to, for instance, Mad Dog Connolly, it's just like an uncomfortable vibe in the building because you know that this guy's going to come out here and he's going to be bleeding all over the place and beating you down with a dog collar. And you're going to be watching this knowing that it's predetermined, but really questioning like how much of this actually is real. Like how crazy are these people we're actually watching right now in this intimate setting amongst only hardcore wrestling fans. And the wrestlers know that, which is also a really cool thing too. Because I feel like there's a big difference between wrestling some random show in like some random part of the world where you may or may not get, you know, you might get a few people in the crowd. They may or may not even know anything about wrestling. They're probably seeing you for the first time. This is the opposite of that. This is every fan in the building, for the most part, knows everything about the history of everyone who's walking out to have a match. And a lot of these same fans show up every weekend for these shows. I mean, they're dedicated fans. So it's I can't speak highly enough of you know, Action Wrestling and TWE and the arena and just everything kind of involved with this, the fan base, the wrestlers themselves. But that's the only reason you can do stuff like this. You can do stuff like Action Dean and have it be successful is these ideas spark from message boards from 20 years ago, back when you were still literally trading VHSs in the mail with one another. And these same people are putting on tribute shows to their friends from message boards with wrestlers who respect that fan base in front of that fan base, you know? So I very much appreciate it as a fan of indie wrestling for sure.
Yeah. Go check it out. It's on AEW TV. Again, it's a great show. We had Eric from, he's part of like the Dean side of things. He was on In the Weeds on Friday before the show, and he gave us some great insight into things.
Yeah, what's his last name?
Shoot, give me a second. I'll look it up.
I don't want to say the wrong last name, I'm almost positive what you're talking about.
Who do you think it is? And I'll tell you if you're
right. Last name start with a C.
No, it's Eric Ritz.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I was thinking of somebody different who goes to those shows. Okay, gotcha.
He's part of the side with that's helped on again like the DVD-R side with things.
Nice.
So,
Death Valley Driver Review message boards.
Yep.
Oh,
all right. The other indie spotlight is Brody Lee Jr. got his ass beat by Joey Janela this past weekend, and now they're gonna face at Spring Break. It's Brody Jr.'s first official singles match. He won the clusterfuck last year, and now he's gonna have a singles match against Joey Janela.
Yes, and it's funny that you chose this as your spotlight because usually throughout the week when I'm putting my list together before I send it to you, I'll usually have a few options, and I'll usually leave those extra options in if we don't have a guest. But I knew we had a guest this week, and I was like, I'm just going to send one topic for each this week. And the one that I erased for the Indies was this one. So I'm glad we were able to talk about it because this was going to be my other Indie spotlight.
Mako and Malenko probably would have been mine if you picked this. So we were on the same page there.
Yes. So, yes. I mean, so I'm glad we're talking about this because that's going to be a highly featured match at Spring Break. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about or put this together, we're talking about -1 from, we're talking about Brodie's kid from the Dark Order, who is now, I don't know how old, like 15 or so, probably.
14. Yeah, 14.
14.
Yeah.
So he's starting to put on a little bit of size, get a little bit bigger. Still a literal child, but he's been training for years now, and he has a little bit of experience. He was involved in the clusterfuck, won the clusterfuck actually last year. I've seen a lot of his training videos. He does a lot of cool stuff, has a good timing, obviously has it in his blood, in his DNA, and clearly loves it. And he's got good people around him. He's obviously a big Cody Rhodes guy. Cody's been very helpful to him and his family behind the scenes and stuff, which I think is really cool. And I think it's going to be important because I think Brodie will eventually have a career in the WWE. I'm interested to see what happens, especially when he turns 18, because I feel like AEW kind of has dibs on him, but they would never hold him to that if he wanted to go to the WWE. But he's going to be he's going to be someone to really look out for in the next few years, because, even though he's only 14 now, you might think, well, that's 18 still, that's still 4 years away. A lot can happen in 4 years. He does have a lot of time, but people like Billy Starks, people like Nick Wayne, it's not that out of, the realm of possibility that depending on what, I don't know what kind of time he's going to have. It's not like it's an easy thing. You're going to school and your parents travel or whatever. You have one, you're a single parent and stuff. Like a brother, a family. I don't know how viable it is for Brodie to do it, how often, but I mean, Billy Starks was wrestling most weekends when she was 15, 16 years old and stuff. So there's going to be an in if Brodie's going to wrestle on a regular basis. This might just be kind of his first big match against Joey, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him popping up on more indie shows and having matches, even though he's only 14, 15 years old. This is really the start of his career when you really think about it, the true start. So I'm very interested to see how this looks. And that Joey has so much respect for Brodie and the family and everything. He's going to make sure that Brodie Jr. is safe. He's going to make sure the match is good. I think it's pretty cool that they're doing it. I think people are going to have polarizing opinions of a 14-year-old wrestling, but it really isn't that out of the realm of it really isn't that strange if you've been following indie wrestling for a while. It really isn't.
I think the people who have that opinion are probably acting in bad faith, honestly. Probably. I don't think that anyone who has that opinion truly understands how involved Brodie already is with wrestling. Because I think if you do know that, then you're probably fine with this match. I understand he's 14 and okay, should he be doing this at 14? It is a little questionable when it comes to that, but I don't know, this kid's been around wrestling for since he was 9, and he's been wrestling kind of since he was 9, and now he's about the size of some of these wrestlers. He's a giant tall kid already. So I think anybody who has an issue with that, which I'm sure there will be people, it probably feels like they are just trying to attack Joey because people like to attack Joey anyway. So
he gets hate from all corners constantly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's So, yeah, I mean, and obviously it depends on what they do in the match, right? Like, I'm not expecting Brody to go out.
He did a pile driver to him.
No. I'm talking about because we're also talking GCW, the middle of the night on the biggest show of the year. Yeah. I'm not expecting him to be going out there and like going through glass or something like that. No. That's really more what I'm saying, because some people and this is just the honest truth. And I'm not saying anything is wrong with GCW. You all know I'm a big fan of theirs. I've supported them for a long time. But there's a lot of people who like just straight up don't watch GCW or shows like GCW because they've seen stuff like that. Like, they don't even care that like they have all these other great wrestlers and these great matches, but they see someone go through glass, they see skewers in someone's forehead, they see a gusset plate in somebody's chest or whatever, and they're just like, well, I'm never watching this no matter what it is. This isn't for me. So that's the reason I bring that up, because I feel like some people might see Brody is 14 and he's wrestling GCW against Joey Janela, and maybe all they know about Joey Janela is him jumping off of the top of a building into the back of a pickup truck.
Sabu stuff last year.
Yeah. See, and Pile Driver Finisher says if he's underage, that's one thing, which he is. He's 14, but the thing is like a lot of that has to do with him being in the business, like. Because when it came to like Billy Starks, for instance, right, that's even more sketchy in my opinion, because she's a girl wrestling grown men. In those situations, it like aesthetically it seems strange if you just saw that on paper. But then when you find out, well, her dad is literally the ringside photographer who's with her literally every step of the way, who has great relationships with these promoters, great relationships with the wrestlers. He's as much of a part of it as she is. Like, this is a safe situation. Like, that's how I feel about Brody too. He has the same kind of support system around him, the same kind of trust with people around him and his family. I'm not worried about it personally. So
no, Joey's safe. Joey's good. Like, they'll be fine. I don't want them to do like glass and barbed wire and all of that.
No.
Yeah, just go out there, have a straightforward wrestling match, and it'll be good.
That would be a kind of thing where like Brett and GCW would be just asking for trouble if they did something. Like, that's too. Anyone with common sense would not go that far. That's just such a bad look. So anyway, and I'm not expecting them to. We're just thinking absolute worst case scenario for the sake of conversation. I don't expect any of this to be a problem at all. It warmed my heart to see that it was happening. Because I was like, how bad this kid's wanted to wrestle. And he got a taste of it in the clusterfuck, and this is going to be a big spot on the biggest indie show of the year, basically. So, this is going to be fun for the indie wrestling fans. I think I love Spring Break and the clusterfuck. Like, it's so most anticipated. Yeah, and there's just something about being, especially the late night shows during the collective. That's one of the only times all year where I'm like really paying attention to Twitter sometimes. Nowadays is like, if I'm awake and it's 1 a.m. whatever, midnight, whatever it is, and there's a collective show on that I'm watching on IWTV or on Fight TV or whatever, Fight Plus, and I'm on Twitter, and like the only other people talking about wrestling are like the only other people still awake watching wrestling are the people watching that show. You know what I mean? Like, and that's like the most fun to me as a wrestling fan, is like people staying awake at odd hours watching their favorite wrestlers in the middle of the night on the biggest wrestling weekend of the year, and they care more about that than WrestleMania itself. You know what I mean? So that's what it's all about.
All right, let's go to our final topic of the evening.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
Jake Hager's doing Power Slap. I don't know what more you want me to say about this.
Yeah, that's pretty much the spotlight. You can follow me on Twitter at FightTalk_. So that's really I just saw that this was happening, and I was like, gotta at least bring it up on the show. I'm kind of intrigued by what that's going to look like, to be honest. I think Power Slap's a terrible idea. It's a terrible sport. It should not exist. It's the equivalent of, have you seen the movie Idiocracy?
No, not that I can.
You've never seen Idiocracy? Oh man, it's a Mike Judge movie. The dude from like Beavis and Butthead and Office Space.
Yeah,
and
my wife's about to yell at me because I haven't seen this because I guarantee she's seen it.
Okay. So that movie was made in probably 2005 or something like that, but you would love it. It calls out like all this stuff for the future. Basically, this guy who's very average in like current day, a very, very average guy winds up getting like whatever hydrogenically whatever frozen and winds up in the future, right? But the world is so dumb in the future that he's the smartest guy on earth. Like, and he's not smart at all, but compared to everyone else on earth now, he's considered an absolute genius. And like the current president is a former professional wrestler. Everyone's just drinking like electrolytes instead of water all the time. And the point that I'm getting to is the top show in the world is a show called Ouch My Balls, which is just people getting hit in the balls over and over again. And that's the top show in the entire world. And Power Slap is Ouch My Balls. Like, it's literally two people standing in front of each other, basically holding a pool noodle, like a foam pool noodle behind their back, and just letting somebody slap them as hard as they can across the face, basically getting punched, because a lot of these guys are using like the palm, and it's technically called clubbing, but like you can get away with it kind of. But you get 2 for flinching, which is absolutely hilarious, the old saying, but you actually get to hit someone in the face twice if they flinch. It's an absolute joke of a sport. It's just straight CTE waiting to happen, and they're preying on the weak. Most of the people that were involved in this up to this point, this does have a point that circles around to Jake Hager. This sport was founded on, I don't know many of their names, guys like Wolverine, whatever his real name is, and now guys like Juicy Finau are in it. He's like one of the top heavyweights, indie wrestler Juicy Finau. He used to actually team with Jacob Fatu. There's actually a lot of indie wrestlers. Holly Hood, Haley J is in it now. Paige Van Zant is in it. But this sport was founded on preying on the weak, finding people who you could tell, hey, guy with nothing going on in life, hanging out at this gas station in the middle of the night, making no money, on drugs probably. Do you want $2,000 to get slapped in the face in front of Dana White and in front of a half-empty Apex crowd in the UFC? And we'll call you a pro athlete and give you $2,000. That's what the sport was founded off of. Now it's becoming, it's starting to evolve in a way where you are getting more of the indie wrestlers in there, like I mentioned. Now it's kind of even evolving even more, because now you're getting guys like Jake Hager, who is a legitimate national champion level collegiate wrestler, former, WWE, AEW, whatever accolades you want to say for his pro wrestling career, but a legitimate pro athlete, basically. Now he's doing it. The full kind of thought process here is no one should be doing this, but I am kind of interested to see what it looks like now, because you're going to have like Jake Hager versus Juicy Finau. Like, that's what the future of the sport is going to look like if you want to call it a sport, Power Slap. And I think that he's going to be, not the last. I think you're going to continue to see. I would not be surprised if some of these guys start going this route. It's so sad and pathetic. Who, a lot of these guys are going into bare knuckle boxing after they retire from combat sports. They're going to start going more into like Power Slap and this kind of stuff. It's such a disgrace. It's so sad. And guys like Forrest Griffin are back there catching them when they're unconscious. It's pathetic. So I understand why Jake Hager is doing it, because he's probably going to get paid decent money to basically hit people who aren't athletes, and he is an athlete. He probably thinks he has a better chin than they do, but it's a bad idea for anybody to be doing it. It shouldn't exist. and I absolutely put money on it every single event and watch it.
I'm not watching this. I don't care.
I used to watch it on Rumble. I literally downloaded the app so I could watch Power Slap on Rumble before it moved over to YouTube. Strictly for the money. I then deleted the Rumble app. I have not ever used it since. But
I think it's stupid. I think if this is what Jake Hager wants to do with his life, fine. It's not my brain that's getting mashed in, but I have no interest in this stuff.
Who's next? Who do you think is the next ex-pro wrestler that has nothing going on, that has burned their bridges with their prior companies to a point where Power Slap is the solution for what's next?
I don't.
Make your call, Jeremy.
I don't want to be that mean to anybody.
Don't be a coward.
I don't want to be that mean to anybody of just your career is so failing right now that you got to go do Power Slap.
That's fair. I don't want to put my name on any of that either. I was trying to get you to say someone. I won't do that to somebody. I can't live with that. If the person that I named wound up in Power Slap, I'd feel like I was probably responsible for putting it out into the world. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The other spotlight, if we had one, we don't need to get into it. We're going to wrap up here in a second, but somewhat pro wrestling related, could have an effect on pro wrestling, especially AEW potentially. The Paramount Plus purchase of like everything recently, interesting. Of course, Paramount Plus already in business with the UFC, and that's where you can stream all their events. So, it's really interesting. I don't know if you saw this also. Do you see Tom Aspinall just signed with Eddie Hearn as his manager? Yeah. That's super interesting. Like, that's not good for Dana. Interesting times in the UFC. You have this whole White House card coming up that apparently we're going to finally get a card for soon, but we have people vacating titles, and like, is Conor fighting? Is he not fighting? Is John Jones fighting? Is he not fighting? Is Pereira fighting? He just gave up his title, so is he moving to heavyweight? A lot of questions in the UFC right now. I am looking forward to the BMF title, as you mentioned before. Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira, whatever anyone thinks about the UFC, you got to respect Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira. Those two guys are legit badasses, legit OGs. Charles Oliveira, one of the best with his hands, but especially dangerous with his submission game. Holloway, absolute legend, especially on the feet. Always going to be known for, everyone's always going to do the point down at the ground Holloway thing to throw down. I can't wait for that fight. I'm actually choosing Oliveira as my prediction in that one. Okay. I just think he has more ways to win. Because I think he can hold his own standing with Holloway. Like, I think Holloway has the edge standing, but I think Holloway can stand with him. But if it gets to any kind of point where they grapple or hit the ground, I think it's all Oliveira. So that's why I'm going with Oliveira. But I'm really looking forward to that fight. So that's pretty much all the other stuff I could think of, all in a nutshell there. UFC, Paramount related. Hopefully the Paramount thing doesn't wind up affecting AEW negatively at all with like them, changing the programming up or something like that with the way they distribute their shows. I guess time will tell when it comes to all of that.
I'm going with Max in the fight, just for the record. Their first fight was forever ago, right? Like,
yeah, it had to have been over 10 years ago.
Yeah, their first fight. I was gonna say they haven't fought recently during this run. So yeah, I'm not putting any stock into their first fight because it was so long ago. I think Max is just a little bit better. They're both great, but I'm gonna go with Max. I did want to ask you, because we have a little bit of extra time, and this, you might take 20 minutes on this, considering what the topic's going to be. How do you feel about Kyler Murray going to the Vikings?
Oh man, yeah, this is gonna take a long time. Okay, I'll do the Cliff Notes version of this. Okay, so when it comes to the Vikings I'm already getting all flustered how I'm saying this. I gotta compose myself, put together something good here, Steven. The Minnesota Vikings can go 3 different ways with their quarterback situation. Okay, I was thinking about this earlier. I've been thinking about it all day, every day because I think about the Vikings constantly, and I watch Vikings YouTubers and listen to Viking stuff constantly while I'm working. And I've come down to this conclusion for myself. This is how I personally feel about the situation. They have 3 options, and I'll tell you at the end which option I think is actually the best. Okay. So option 1, they still think JJ McCarthy is the guy. And what that means is JJ McCarthy is still the starter this year. Their plan is for him to start. They've seen enough in him to be confident that he's going to have enough of a leap in production and stuff this year, being his 3rd year, technically his 2nd year. He's missed a lot of time, but like if things are going to click, it's going to happen this year. And McCarthy's good to go. He's our guy. If they feel that way about that, then the quarterbacks they're going to bring in, because they're for sure going to bring in other quarterbacks. That's 1,000,000% going to happen. There's going to be some level of, whether it's a competition or like a fallback plan, they're going to bring in another quarterback. So if they feel like McCarthy's still the guy, then I think they're going to bring in someone like Kirk Cousins, or they'll bring in someone like Geno Smith or Tua, maybe. Someone like that who they are bringing in, essentially telling that new quarterback, you're coming in to compete with JJ McCarthy. It's his job currently, but you can beat him out for this job. They're not really thinking that. Like, they're thinking McCarthy's our guy, but now they have a good fallback plan with some sort of veteran quarterback to back up McCarthy if he gets hurt or if he sucks. So you have Cousins, who already knows. In scenario 1, my pick is Kirk Cousins. As much trash as I talked about him when he left Minnesota for only winning 1 playoff game, he knows the system. He's played for O'Connell before, was very, very good in Kevin O'Connell's offense before, and he has a really good rapport with Justin Jefferson. And Justin Jefferson himself could have a say in this too, and tell the team, hey, I know I can get my numbers with Kirk. Like, I'd get 2,000 yards plus every year with Kirk. I know what I'm getting out of that. I like that. So there's that. That's option number 1. They want to keep JJ. They bring in a veteran to back him up. Option number 2 is they still believe in JJ McCarthy, but because they still got time. The theme of today's show, JJ McCarthy is only like 22 years old. So they could come out of the approach of going, JJ is still our guy, but we have to win the Super Bowl this season, because if we don't, then Kevin O'Connell might be in the hot seat. So they're very incentivized to win right now this year. If they feel like JJ McCarthy is not the best option for that, option 2 is to bring in Aaron Rodgers. And why Aaron Rodgers is the best option when it comes to option 2 is because a 1-year deal would work for everybody. Rodgers wouldn't want to commit past a year anywhere. Minnesota wouldn't want to commit past a year. McCarthy would be okay with the idea of, okay, I sit behind Aaron Rodgers 1 year. Okay, I'll be 23 next year. I'll have a year of learning under one of the GOATs, and then it's my team going forward. And then at that point, it's complete sink or swim. Like, McCarthy doesn't produce after that. He's just not the guy. But that's option number 2, would be Aaron Rodgers comes in, 1-year deal. McCarthy's the backup. Try to win the Super Bowl. Because we're also people thinking about Aaron Rodgers. He could come in and dominate in Kevin O'Connell's offense. O'Connell likes to throw the ball downfield. Aaron Rodgers is the master of reading defenses. He could get the ball out of his hands to Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkins, and whoever we have out on the field. Option 3 is they've given up on JJ McCarthy. They've seen enough. They think what they're getting out of him isn't good enough, and they do not think he's going to be the guy for the future at this point. So option 3 is basically bringing in Kyler Murray, or maybe like Derek Carr or someone like that. Kyler Murray is the one who most people are talking about that makes the most sense because he's about to get released. But the reason that I think Kyler Murray would be coming in to replace JJ McCarthy is because Kyler's going to have a say in where he goes because of free agency. So if the Vikings come to Kyler and they go, hey, we want to sign you out of free agency, he's going to go, great, I love Minnesota, great team, perfect fit, let's win. They can't be like, well, you're going to compete for JJ McCarthy's job, or you're coming in to back up JJ McCarthy. Because if that's the case, Kyler Murray is going to sign with the team that's going to start him. So if they're going to bring in Kyler Murray, he's coming in as the starter. And if you're going to do that, you're basically telling JJ McCarthy, we're moving on from you, because you're not bringing in Kyler Murray to be there for 1 year. You're bringing him in thinking he's going to be your guy for the next 3 years, 5 years, because he's still young enough that you're essentially replacing JJ McCarthy if you bring in Kyler Murray. So those are the 3 options. My choice is actually option B. As much as I want JJ McCarthy to start, and I think that he needs the reps, I more so want to see the Vikings just win. And they have the rest of the teams ready, and it's been like this my entire life. I've lived through all these teams with stacked offenses, but we've always had that big question at quarterback. Our defense is great. It shouldn't be much different with Brian Flores still there. So the defense is good to go. The offense is good to go. The biggest question mark is the actual quarterback position. And if they feel like we can get a guy like Aaron Rodgers in there for a year or two and win right now and still let JJ McCarthy have a shot a year or two from now when he's still only 22, 23, 24 years old, I'm actually best with that option. But, I think what they're going to do ultimately is I do think that McCarthy's going to start week 1, and I think it's going to be Kirk Cousins or somebody, a veteran backing up JJ, is what I think is going to wind up ultimately happening. Although I can't deny there's a lot of smoke with the Kyler Murray stuff. What bothers me about Kyler Murray is in the last handful of years, if you look at his stats and you look at his tape, he doesn't throw the deep ball well. Like, he can throw the ball down the field, but his completion percentages are terrible, 35 yards plus, and like in the 10 to 15 yard range where we throw the ball most. But he was also throwing to shitty receivers and rookies for a lot of these years also. So
Larry Fitzgerald Jr.
Marvin
Harrison Jr.
Marvin Harrison Jr. Yeah, but he did have a lot of drop passes also and stuff So I can't put it all completely on Kyler. But it's also like Kevin O'Connell with the way that he wants to run the offense. I think he's kind of stubborn. I think he's going to want to run his offense his way. So I think he's going to think he can do that with either JJ McCarthy or Kirk Cousins. Whereas when you bring in Kyler Murray, you have to change your offense to cater the way Kyler plays. So, because you're dealing with a guy who's short, who can't see over the offensive line, who scrambles a lot, it's a totally different style of play than what you're getting out of a Kirk Cousins, especially, or a JJ McCarthy for that matter. JJ's a little more mobile, but you get the point I'm trying to make. So that is, I did that pretty good. I got that right at the time we were supposed to end at pretty much. I could have talked for the next 3 hours about that. So I think that's pretty good. How do you feel about that analysis?
I mean, I hope for your sake they don't go with Kyler Murray, but at the same time, I don't know if Rodgers or Kirk Cousins I don't know what the best option is there. I think Kyler Murray has a lot of talent, and if Kevin O'Connell's like a true quarterback whisperer, and they do have the weapons that they have, like, I don't think it's the worst move in the world. Even though I'm not sold on Kyler Murray at all, but I can understand the reasons for it potentially working and why they would have that interest.
It's possible. I mean, it's very possible. It's one of those things where if they sign Kyler, I'm going to be kind of bummed because I do like JJ McCarthy a lot.
Yeah, you were all in on JJ McCarthy, which
I still am.
Still don't. Okay.
I still am. He showed a lot of flashes of potential throughout the season last year. I'm more concerned about his injuries than I am his actual play, because he's still only played like 8 games. Like he hasn't had the reps to even be able to tell if he's bad or not. Like, so I think that there's all of that. So yeah, we'll see. What kind of scares me, I haven't heard anybody talking about this, but what kind of scares me about Kyler, and you can say this about other quarterbacks too, it isn't Kyler specific, but it would be kind of similar. People don't even remember this, most people, but the Vikings at one point were in pretty much the same exact spot, like 10, 15 years ago, whatever it was already at this point. I think I was in college at the time still. We were in this exact position, and we signed Donovan McNabb. And this was coming off of McNabb being a legend in Philly. And then he comes to Minnesota, and he maybe played like a couple games, he was so ass when he showed up with the Vikings. Like, he was so bad. And it was like, that's what I'm kind of worried when it comes to someone like Kyler is like, I don't think that Kyler's washed to the degree that McNabb was when we got him, but Kyler has not been a good quarterback the last few years. And it also worries me when you hear all this stuff over the years about him being a bad leader and not like wanting to read the playbooks and do the film studies, and how he wants his own locker room, and how he is more interested when the new Call of Duty game comes out than playing.
They literally wrote into his contract that he has to do like 50 hours of film study a week, which seems like a bad bad omen there if you have to put that into the contract.
Yes, whereas JJ McCarthy, for instance, was injured his entire rookie year, which sucked, but while he was injured, he was doing film studies with players from the team. Like, people could say, well, that's common sense, of course, like he's going to do something while he's injured, but he didn't have to do a lot of the stuff that he did while he was hurt. Like, he was spending a lot of his time during his rehab building relationships with the other players, going to their houses, watching film with them, and calling them constantly, calling them after games and asking them about reads they were seeing on the field and what he should do in those situations when he gets in the game and stuff. So he apparently, worked his ass off to the most he possibly could, even when he was hurt. Like, he loves football and he wants to be successful. Whereas you have what you just mentioned with Kyler, where they have to literally contractually obligate him to do the job they're paying him tens of millions of dollars to do. This would be a different conversation. These guys weren't getting paid a lot of money, right? It's a different thing when it's like, you're the most important position in all of sports, being a quarterback in the NFL, and you're making, in his case, hundreds of thousands of dollars, or hundreds of millions of dollars. Sorry, it's what I'm really trying to say. Hundreds of millions of dollars probably throughout his career. And you got to be told to read the playbook. Like, I don't think that's necessarily, like you said, it's not a good omen. Especially when you come to a team like the Vikings, where like Justin Jefferson is such like a good example of like all the right things. He's not getting in trouble off the field. He had all reason in the world last year at any point during the season when he was approached by reporters. Most people in his position, with his level of like superstar and everything in the NFL, at some point last year would have trash talked somebody, would have been like, would have pointed something out, would have trash talked, would have said, I'm not getting mine. I'm the best in the league. I want out. Like, I'm getting half my production I normally do, blah, blah, blah. He didn't do any of that. Like, he was the team player. He bought into the system, and he just wants to be a good example. And I feel like someone like Kyler, listen, Kyler could work out great, but I also feel like if it comes down to like Justin Jefferson isn't hitting his number, he's not getting catches, and Kyler's not in team meetings and he's playing Call of Duty, like, what are we doing? There's a reason he's getting released from Arizona. That's another thing that people aren't like taking seriously enough. Jacoby Brissett played very well. Like, he deserves all the credit in the world, but they are choosing to release Kyler Murray and the money that they owe him and let him go sign a minimum deal somewhere else and pay him to play somewhere else, basically. That's not the sign of like someone that's got a whole lot of trust behind him right now. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Aaron Rodgers.
For your sake, I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is much better, but
the Aaron Rodgers thing is just good because it's having your cake and eating it too. It's either, if it doesn't work out, whatever, he was on a 1-year deal anyways, and McCarthy gets back in there. In best case scenario, we do really, really well, and McCarthy plays next year. So I don't know. But like I said, I think McCarthy's going to be the starter week 1 ultimately, unless something big changes. I don't think we're going to trade McCarthy. I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, yeah, he doesn't have any value right now.
But there are certain teams where, like, if they were losing a quarterback in like like if we traded instead of pick up a quarterback, for instance, or something like that, the receiving team might want a quarterback in exchange. So that's kind of like, for instance, if this was a few days ago and Arizona put it out on the table that Kyler was up for a trade, not being released, I could see them wanting JJ McCarthy in a trade, for instance. But because they're releasing him, obviously they're not going to get anything in return. So
I think they tried to trade him, and he didn't have any. Kyler didn't have any value, so nobody ended up trading for him.
No, that's what I'm saying, though. I'm just saying, like, if there was value there, like, if they could trade Kyler Murray, I think they would want some sort of QB compensation probably in that trade, because as good as Jacoby Brissett played, and he might just be their guy going forward, but, you know, you got to have a backup plan. Like, all these teams need backup plans. The best teams, like Josh Allen needs a backup plan. You know, Patrick Mahomes needs a backup plan. That's what pissed me off so much about the Vikings last season. You had JJ McCarthy out there essentially playing as a rookie, and your backup plan was picking up Carson Wentz like 2 weeks before the season started. Like, you had no backup plan for a guy who was out all year last year with injury, who's never played before, who's going to need help, and you didn't have any help for him. Like, so they need to fix that this year.
Anything else, Jensen? I know I set you up. I teed you up for that one. So
yeah, well, I'm glad I was able to talk about it a little bit. Obviously, this is stuff that, I mean, it's very interesting time right now because this is the new league year or whatever. Technically starts, I think, on Monday or something Monday. Like that. Yeah. So you're going to see all these people get released, and this was also the time of the year last year. I remember it very well because this was when the big question mark was, what are we going to do with Sam Darnold? Are we going to pay him or let him walk? And he got signed to the Seahawks. I think it was like the first day of free agency last year. It all happened very fast. So I think we're going to see a lot of stuff happening this year too. People are going to get released, and you're immediately going to start seeing big signings all over the place. We already saw it, like 10 new head coaches or whatever it was in the offseason. The Vikings don't even have a general manager still. Like there's a lot going on right now. So it's great too, because with the season being over, we don't have the games, but at least we have all this stuff going on to where we can still be hyped on the NFL. So any moves that you're expecting the Panthers to do? Anything on their radar?
Really. No. I mean, they got weaknesses in certain areas. Hopefully they get guys, but I don't expect like anything flashy or whatever. So hopefully they just fill up some holes, draft, get an edge, get a linebacker, maybe get a tight end. Those are kind of get a safety. It's mainly on the defensive side, but that's kind of where I'm at. But I don't know the landscape enough with free agency and stuff to know like who's actually available. So we'll see.
Yeah, I haven't paid really much attention when it comes to many of the other teams, but I've said it 1,000 times. I think, Bryce, you got something good there with Bryce. So hopefully you got some weapons for him that are a little better than Leggett going forward. And,
Jalen Coker, he's kind of our number 2 guy at this point. Leggett's basically number 3. So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else, Jensen?
No, that's it. Go Team USA baseball. Team USA going all the way. Really looking forward to the World Baseball Classic. So that's where you can catch me all weekend. Fight Talk _ is the X account if you want to follow me over there. And it should be a good weekend. We got baseball. We got the UFC with the BMF title. I didn't mention, I do think that it's very possible whoever wins that BMF title match, I could see that being Connor's return fight. If Connor actually returns, I think he could wind up fighting one of those guys.
I don't think he's returning at all. So
I'm just saying, like, if he does, that's like the one thing that kind of makes sense because it's a title belt, but it's a title belt that's very loose as far as like who can compete for it, and it doesn't matter what weight it happens at. And they're Oliveira and Holloway are both really big names, and Connor's fought Max before, but it was a real long time ago. But I could see that kind of making sense. I don't think that's going to happen at the White House, but I could see that happening like International Fight Week or whatever they do in July this year or whatever. Yeah. But anyways, that's what I got going on. And I think NXT this weekend. So, if you guys are into that, sure. You got that too. So yeah.
Joel and I will be back tomorrow. I'm sure we'll talk about NXT and Road Dogg leaving WWE and all that fun stuff.
Oh, that's right. Didn't even talk about that. That was he quit, right?
Today. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like he left on his own accord. So, right.
Our boy Cass get that one. You get that scoop? I saw Body Slam credited.
It's Body Slam. I think Corey kind of does most of those scoop. Corey Hayes over there at Body Slam does most.
Oh, nice! Shout out to Corey. Okay, cool, good deal.
All right, so Joel and I will be back tomorrow. Till then, Jensen and I will be back next week. Till then, we'll talk to everybody later. Everybody enjoy your weekend. We'll see y'all next week.